Adam, the Super Bowl has come and gone. We'll put a bow on this episode talking about the great state of Nevada where the Super Bowl was held for the first time in Las Vegas. The handle did set an all-time record, $185.6 million in bets, and that broke the 179.8 that was set in 2022. So you see about a $6 million difference in handle from 2022 to 2024. And I'd like to get your opinion on this because some of the commentary I saw coming out on all of this was, I thought, pretty off base, where people were kind of disappointed in the fact that it was only a $6 million increase, and that, if the game was going to be in Nevada, specifically in Las Vegas, that it should have just demolished all of the numbers and whatever. Okay. I mean, first and foremost, I think that any uptick is a win in all of this. We have talked ad nauseum here on this podcast, Adam, about what a pain in the ass it is to sign up and fund and withdraw at sports books in Nevada. And then if you're not doing that, then it's having to do it over the counter, which, as we know, on a weekend like Super Bowl can be a pretty big deal as well, because the lines are so ridiculous and all the stuff that goes on with all of that. I'm just curious as to your thought here that it was underwhelming that they only set the record by $6 million, because I have my own thoughts here.
Matt, has Las Vegas ever had trouble filling its rooms for the Super Bowl?
And therein lies yes, thank you. I'm glad this is where you're going with this, because me and you, Adam, see, we're right here. We're right here on this.
Simpatico, my friend.
Yeah.
Simpatico. Las Vegas has never had trouble filling its rooms for the Super Bowl. Las Vegas has always been a major destination for the Super Bowl. And we've had a lot of discussion both on and off this podcast about who comes to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, depending upon whether the game is there or not. We have the first example this year of people showing up for the Super Bowl when it's in Las Vegas. And as you mentioned, there are many, many friction points to being able to wager in Las Vegas. You sent me one article in which one reporter was contending that certain whales who have shown up in the past didn't want to show up for the Super Bowl. You want to go with that one? You want to go with that one?
I know. It's like, what?
Yeah, anyway.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I know. It's like, so this is, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is the point that I was trying to explain to people. And I think that there's a lot of people who just assume that, the game's in town, it should shoot up, your sports betting handle. I don't think the game being in town materially affects the betting environment in Nevada. And if anything, I think we could make a pretty compelling argument on here that it might negatively affect the betting environment in Nevada, because now there are thousands of hotel rooms that are now being taken up by people who are coming to town not for fun, not to play, not to take in the games and gamble and eat and whatever else like that. Is because they're here to work, right? It's like they work for the NFL, they work for CBS, they work for all the other media outlets, they work for all the sponsors, all the company. All of those people have to come into town and they have to be here, and they're taking up room. But Adam, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gambling. That doesn't mean that they're betting on the game. They're literally going to work every single day that they're here in town. And so they're taking up space, but they're not necessarily here for the reasons that the people who typically come into town are here. And so that's why I think any uptick with the game being in town should be looked at as success. And I don't care if it is only $6 million.
I'll take it a step farther than you. Not only are some of those people here to work, some of those people literally cannot bet. They would lose their job if they were to bet. We just heard Roger Goodell in his State of the League address talk about more than 24 employees ultimately having lost their jobs over gambling since the NFL became a partner of 7 different sports books. We're talking about people being in Las Vegas who are taking up strip hotel rooms who cannot bet on the game. Pretty straightforward. So I think we could also talk about what we expect for the rest of the country based on what we've seen out of Nevada, because we saw that the hold was around 3.6%. Now, Nevada's historic hold over time, 5.4%, and I think we can continue to talk about Nevada's hold in a more stable environment because of how archaic the market truly is, right? We haven't seen a huge shift to mobile. By Nevada standards we have, but we have not seen the kind of shift to mobile that we've seen elsewhere in the country. We haven't seen the shift in customer that we've seen elsewhere in the country when it comes to Nevada. So I think it is a good apples to apples to talk about the fact that the game was ultimately not a favorable result for the sports books, right? With the Chiefs winning the game and the Chiefs having anywhere between 60, 70, in some cases closer to 75% of tickets and cash at sports books, then it wasn't a great result for them in the long run. But you still saw a win on the game in Nevada, which that's not a bad thing when you think about it, because in another environment with more potential 49ers bettors, if the Super Bowl truly were something that just drew people who were close to come down to the game, you might have seen this work out differently for the sports books. So anyway, we're kind of in the weeds. I'm definitely too far into the weeds on this. The point of what you're saying, Matt, is that Nevada did fairly well overall, given what the environment was. Our Eric Ramsey projected $1.3 billion throughout the country. As we look at the early returns that have come in from New Jersey, from New York, and some other states, we see that that's tracking pretty well. Eric believes that it could come in 1.35, even as good as 1.4 billion in terms of handle on the Super Bowl by the time all is said and done. We'll have more of those reports over the course of the next few weeks at Legal Sports Report.
Yeah, as more things get released, we'll certainly keep you guys up to date on all of that. But just again, to kind of wrap it up, it's just, to me, if you're looking at that as a bad thing, that it was an uptick with the game in town, I think you need to look at it more from a holistic standpoint than it is of just the game's in town, that automatically means more people are going to bet. You got to think about the type of people that come in town for that, and the rooms that they're taking up from the people who would normally be coming here. And Adam, the final kind of thought on this too is you're also bringing in thousands of people from San Francisco and thousands of people from Kansas City who are coming in town, who, again, they're coming in town for the game. They're coming in town to root for their team. That was this. It didn't matter where the Super Bowl was played. They wanted to go see the Super Bowl because they're super fans of their team. So they also are not coming to Nevada to party it up and go crazy. Yeah, sure, they'll do a little bit of that, but their primary focus was to come to the game. Their primary focus, and probably their primary expenditure, was the tickets to the game and all the things like that. And so it's not the same type of person that was coming to Nevada. And so it's just one of those deals where I think it's a little bit narrow of a view to just look at that number and think that that's disappointing. I actually looked at it and go, oh, that's better than I thought. I actually thought that we would be neutral. I thought it'd be stagnant, if anything else. And so, $6 million is $6 million. It's not like the biggest eye-popping crazy jump from the record before, but I think it's a pretty decent jump.
You can go online and watch the same video I did of one media outlet going to people in the stands at Allegiant Stadium and asking them how much they paid for their Super Bowl ticket. And I'm not exaggerating when I heard people say $9,000, $10,000 for a Super Bowl ticket. And I'm not talking about the people who were sitting in Taylor Swift's box. I am talking about the people who are wearing jerseys to the game. They might not have a whole lot of money left to go spend at the sportsbook by the time they pay to get into the game.
No, absolutely. I had a buddy who is a 49ers fan who was doing the whole, I'll wait until a couple hours before the game. I'm just going to be out there, and then whatever, they'll drop. I'll get in. Yeah, the get-in price for the absolute nosebleeds minutes before the game was still $6,100. It didn't happen. It didn't manifest, Adam. It never came to fruition. It was the first Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It was just going to be that. And like you said, like you mentioned, that's probably the bulk of their expenditure when they came. It's the tickets, it's the hotel, it's whatever. There's not a lot of money to go gamble and do and all this stuff like that. So I thought it was a win. A lot of people didn't. Maybe I'm in the minority.
You generally are. You generally are. You're not the everyman. You're everyman for me, but you're not the everyman.
I agree. Hey guys, everything we talk about here on this podcast you can find over at LegalSportsReport.com. So please go in, take in all of the words that Adam and company are putting on the page over there. And again, if you are listening to us on your podcast app of choice, go ahead, subscribe, rate, review. We do appreciate all of that. And if we're on the YouTube side, hello, how you doing? Hit that subscribe button as well. For Adam, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.